At the beginning of the 19th century, cages over fresh graves began to appear en masse in the cemeteries of Great Britain. Why were they installed? Even today in the old cemeteries of England, you can see graves covered with mysterious metal bars. Locals call such bars mort safes. Many may think that such cages were installed by superstitious people, because at that time hoaxes were very popular. Spirits, zombies, sorcerers, witches, resurrection of the dead, etc. But in fact, these bars were needed not to protect people from the dead, but on the contrary, to protect the dead from people, from the so-called resurrectors. At the beginning of the 19th century, medicine was actively developing in Great Britain. Scientists and doctors began to study the human body more thoroughly in order to advance the medical field to a new level, diversify and deepen the theoretical base. It was necessary to study new diseases, create medicines, and develop new treatment methods. For this, it was very important to study biological material. The laws of Great Britain at that time allowed only the bodies of homeless and executed people to be used in medical experiments. However, there was still not enough biological material. Demand exceeded supply. As a result, a cynical, criminal business was formed. Marauders dug up fresh graves, took bodies out of them, and sold them to doctors and scientists. Cages were introduced on graves against such marauders, which did not allow excavation and removal of the body. The cage went to the entire depth of the grave so that it was impossible to get to the coffin from any side. However, such protection was far from cheap, so only rich people could afford it. Sometimes the cages were removed after a period of time, after which there was no longer any point in excavating. But most often the grave with the cage was not touched, and it remained in this form forever, thanks to which we can still find such graves today. Looters would dig a small tunnel behind the grave, and when they reached the coffin, they would break the lid, then carefully grab the corpse's neck with a hook or loop and pull the body to the surface. The cemetery administration tried to prevent grave robberies in every possible way. All sorts of methods were used, such as mixing earth with straw, which greatly complicated digging, laying heavy stone slabs, or installing iron bars on the graves at the expense of the deceased relatives. But the most unconventional method of fighting looters was mining the coffin. A bomb was placed in the coffin, which was activated when the lid was opened or destroyed. Here is a diagram of a patent for a mined coffin from 1878. All this prompted the English Parliament to legislate to allow medical institutions to legally obtain cadaveric material for anatomical and educational purposes. After the law was passed, the grim business of grave robbery became unclaimed and quickly faded away. Subscribe to the channel. There will be much more interesting things ahead.